Peeps, we're back. New Periscope. New Periscope today. Got some, let me see this for a second. What's up? What's up, peeps? What's up? Look, guys, so I'm going to start this off. We're going to obviously, we got the wine to go into. And I feel kind of bad with the wine because I want to like really clear out some of these regions. I kept finding some more stuff, and we're gonna clean out these regions. But I really want to move into Piedmont because Piemonte just has so much stuff already. So, thank you, Joshua. I appreciate that. So I understand that we want to get to some of the better wines, but some interesting stuff. Just got to clear out what we've got left here. Um, Also, I wanted to IPA tasting, guys. If you want an IPA tasting, that's a great way to shut down my energy. IPAs make me feel absolutely terrible, absolutely terrible. No chance I'm going to be having the IPA. But look, guys, I want to talk about what we're going to be doing. I love this. What we're going to be talking with these periscopes going forward, because as you might expect, we are going to be changing the format of these things a little bit. I mean, I want to keep the energy going. I want to keep the community going. Obviously we all really love these chats. Um, but I think regardless of anything that happened to me, regardless of anything that happened to me, I think we have to also agree that situation's different in a lot of ways. The energy is different, and there was a sort of phase and a sort of cycle that we had, and we went through that, and now things are shifting. So I'm thinking about turning these periscopes more into, we'll have periodic Q&As on any topic. Obviously a lot of that's going to be dating relationship, but some of you guys also asked me about energy and about other things. So we can, I'll mention a bunch of different things on the Q&As, and just gonna have like periscopes talking about topics, things that are going on. So, but if you guys do have some name that you want to drop, we can maybe talk about that. I think it was kind of cool to have the two chats segmented, because I know some of you guys prefer some stuff or others. So I'm open to it. You guys feel free to DM me what your thoughts are. Trying to figure out the next evolution of this, but I don't want to just shut things down. There's just too much happening right now. Now, but I have to be realistic. I got to tell you guys, last night, my Facebook and Instagram were shut down last night. Facebook and Instagram were shut down, and I don't know why. I mean, I know why, but I don't use them. Like I almost put nothing on those things, and it was kind of strange that they would decide to just remove me for pretty much no reason. Certainly no violation. Nothing was given. I received no email. It was just the account was no longer existing. So look, I don't know if that's going to happen with Twitter. That would actually be a very bad thing for me. But I'm resilient, I'll get through it. Going to be creating a Telegram chat that's going to be basically like an alternate channel to try to, I know we had the COVID Cabal chat before, but this one is going to be just sort of more of like that's done, by the way. I'm not going to be able to get access to that again. So we're going to be starting just a new channel on Telegram, and that'll be the backup section. So I'll be promoting that stuff. Anyway, last bit of housekeeping. I just want to say I appreciate all the donations that you guys have been giving. It's been really, really cool. I have some, it's actually kind of hard for me. I really, like, a lot of me doesn't like this. A lot of me doesn't even like to have the thing. It feels kind of like pathetic on a certain level, but you know, I want to be framed this way. I appreciate any of the help you give. I mean, some of you guys have been really generous, and I appreciate all of that so much. But there's no obligation. I'm going to survive regardless. I'm not worried about it. But your donations do help make life a little easier, and it spreads the love. So if you feel called to do so, it is appreciated. All right, so let's talk real quick about the wine. This is It's gonna be real quick because guys, I don't really know anything about the wine. I looked it up. It's not in my encyclopedia. Okay, and so the story is this is a grape called Foa Tonda. Now you remember this brand? We've done this brand a bunch. They must be a pretty big producer in Alto Adige and in Verona. But Foa Tonda, also known as Caseta, this is an indigenous grape from the area that pretty much doesn't exist anymore. I think that they're one of the only ones who produce it. My guess, guys, from looking at it, looking at how dark it is that it's related to Legrine, which exists further up. Look at this. The heck is that? That's cork. Exists higher up in Alto Adige, if you recall. So let's see if that hypothesis is true. I always like trying these indigenous grapes because this is like how it used to be in the area. So it's really inky. It's really similar to Legrine. Really similar to Legrine, as you would have thought. They're probably siblings. They're probably siblings, or genetically speaking, or maybe this is a parent of Legrine. It's a little bushy, I guess you could say. There's not a lot of fruit flavor to it. It's very, very vegetal. Malbec's always good. One of my really good friends just came back. She's Argentine. She just came back from Argentina, and we were popping some Malbec last weekend. It was really fun. It was really fun stuff. So this is good. I don't think you're gonna find it too much though, aside from this brand. Maybe if you go to the area, you might find it. So, guys, let's just talk a little bit about what's been going on. So, the big picture stuff I wanted to mention is, you know, right now we are waiting for the masses to, we're past first stage, and now we're in second stage. And it's kind of interesting how you can feel like your role, like my role was in first stage. Like I understand that, and now I feel like even with this stuff, it's more like I'm almost more in the spectator position. It's really funny how it shifts like that. And but I do think it's really interesting to watch all this GameStop stuff. It took me a couple days to really process what was going on. I mean, also my headspace wasn't exactly around this stuff. I've kind of tuned out a lot of the political things these days. But this is really waking up the masses. It's really waking up the masses. I mean, especially people who I guess you could call more on like the Bernie left, who maybe still didn't like Trump, people who really still have a strong antipathy for Wall Street. These people are now really getting galvanized, and I think that they're starting to see just, that the system really doesn't discriminate between left versus right. Robinhood was selling trader info to both sides of the trades. That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, it's a real mess, guys. It's a real mess, but I really see this is accelerating consciousness so fast, so fast. And we've had a pretty rough week. I mean, I'm not going to get into the specifics of this. You guys kind of know what's been going on, but it feels to me like a lot of people are, this whole Robinhood thing could crash the stock market. It could totally crash the stock market. A lot of these the everyman holders are really pushing it. Coinbase is now restricting purchases of Bitcoin. I mean, things are really just. I got to be honest with you guys. It's really a roller coaster, and it would be really something if, like a week into Biden's office, that the stock market completely collapsed. I mean, that would be crazy, crazy stuff, and that might really spark a lot of people to wake up. So we're going to see basically what happens with all of this stuff. We're going to see how it plays out, but I want you guys to, yeah, Ben, I agree with you. I agree with you. And it's one of those things like, all right, let's get a little spiritual here for a second. Let's talk a little bit more about these dimensions and whatnot, because I wrote about this in Hyperion magazine when it came to the bets. But man, it's becoming such an exercise in everything. I mean, just letting go, really being willing to let go. It's super tough letting go of dates, letting go of any sort of metrics or expectations, and just simply allowing things to unfold. Just White Claws. Well, you should go out there, play some winter pong. I don't know. Over here, it is so cold and windy It's about time though. I mean, honestly, I like cold weather, but this was really rough today. I was walking early morning with the baby, just because she was being fussy, you know. So I had to let my wife sleep a little bit. And man, I was like, I couldn't take the coffee with me because my hands would just freeze on the outside of it. It's like 9 degrees with the wind chill. But yeah, this is really like it's really a big exercise in letting go. It's a really big exercise in letting go. And I have been, and I think that we all kind of go through these little cycles with it. But like, I have to let go. For instance, let me talk about some of my things. Right, we have to let go that maybe the stock market will completely crash. We have to let go that, um, our social media maybe will be canceled or not. Right, I have to let go maybe whatever happens to me with the legal system, and just having to really like enter into that sort of 5D level of saying almost none of this matters. I mean, it obviously on a lower level it does matter, right? It's one of the reasons I've appreciated donations. It's nice, that helps make life easier. But it's also this sort of sense of, well, you can't, um, who knows what you're going to get levied with, who knows what's going to happen, but you need to be just prepared for all of it and allow it to happen and to roll with it. You have to be like water in the process. And this is really difficult because, you know, most people are in this sort of 3D level where it's like things just happen to them and it breaks them. They have no control over it whatsoever, and that lack of control terrifies them. So they're looking for a savior. Or you have, and this is very common in our corner, or you have these 4D people who are really trying to game the system, try to hack it, right? How can I and those people have been the ones that have been benefiting the most under the sort of group, under the system, because a lot of it is gaming the system. A lot of it is understanding, the game isn't fair. This is how it works, you know, or understanding that this is like you know, this is not what normal people do. So don't do what normal people do, right? That's so much of what the manosphere self improvement space is not trying to be like a normal 3D person. But man, I mean, I think a lot of these people are going to have a hard time because now we're witnessing the destruction of 4D structures. So you're trying to game the stock market, but there's all sorts of crazy things that are going to happen with regulations, right? Things are just swinging. It's almost like the system is so unpredictable, it's so unstable at the moment that we have no idea how to bear with it. Now, I know people are riding the wave and some people are smarter than others, but yeah, the blowback's going to happen. I mean, I can see a lot of people are really enthusiastic and they feel like they're going to get it. Um, and there is going to be pain that's going to come. I mean, and then when the market itself really crashes, and it very well could crash, I mean, I think that's probably what's going to happen. And this is one of those things, the Great Reset, Great Awakening, and how they play off of each other. But I think that there's a really good chance that people are going to lose a lot of money, and we have to be honest that people have already been really suffering over this past year. A lot of people have seen their businesses shut down or severely curtailed, and it's just kind of and so really just preparing ourselves emotionally and saying, hey, look, my 25,000 person Twitter account could disappear tomorrow. I could wake up in the morning, it could be gone. Where does that leave me? And just being like, you know what, everything might go before the new blossoms come up. And so I want people to be prepared for that. That's kind of the main thing I wanted to go over here today. Is I want people to be prepared for what's going to be going on, in the coming months. We have and I'm not giving any dates or predictions. I mean, people throw around early March, people throw around mid-April, um, but we don't really know anymore. And I think we have to again surrender and let go, and let things play out as they need to play out, for people. Because I have to say, even though I'm kind of tired of it, I think that a lot of us are kind of tired of it. I mean, it's kind of fun, but we're kind of tired of it. A lot of people need to see it. They need to see it. Yeah, you know what? You know what? Elvis, 100%. I remember that, and it's kind of almost comical to look back on it and think, "Oh, man, this was like they were gonna shut down everything, and 2 weeks later, it was gonna be done." I mean, that was hilarious in hindsight because it would literally take a year, and I do believe that. I do really feel that this spring has some serious energy in it. It's a very, very because the spring is the beginning of the new year, guys. Don't let anybody tell you any different, you know? Don't let anybody tell you different. There is no, like, January is not the beginning of the new year. It's the equinox. If I had it my way, I would completely redesign the calendar to make the calendar based on the zodiac. So you'd be the first of, Aries would be the beginning of the new year. Not any of this bullshit. Because right now it doesn't align with the planetary cycles and it's confusing and it's kind of irrelevant. So you get rid of all the months. All the months have been hijacked anyway. It's been totally fake names. Yep, yep. Just change. That's the easiest way to do it. And then you just have it. The first of Aries is the beginning of the new year. Each of the months is going to be about 30 days. I don't know, how you deal with the little swing days, but so we gotta. I mean, I'm waiting until then to really feel anything, but we are going to go through a really rough month and tax rebates for chart readings. That's exactly right. We're gonna go through a rough month collectively, guys. We're gonna go through a rough month collectively because things are only gonna. I mean, there's this risk of war going on between Israel and Iran. I don't think that's gonna happen. Magenta's talked about Kuwait being an intermediary. It could be. I don't know. Um, but the point is that I think war will be averted. But things are going to get more intense geopolitically around the world. There's going to seem. I think we're going to see flashpoints between Saudi Arabia and Israel against Iran. I think we're going to see flashpoints against Taiwan and China. Yep, Taiwan and China, exactly. And then domestically, I think we're going to see a financial crash. And I think we're going to see a lot more come out. A lot more come out. There was a whole thing with Kleinsmith recently that's going to bother a lot of people. The person who was involved with Flynn. So, I got really like a slap on the wrist. So we're going to see how it all plays out. But I can tell you that the masses are starting to wake up, and you know, I'm happy to take a back seat. My sort of feeling right now is it's like let's just. I don't want the terminology to be bad because when I say let's just survive the next month, but what I mean is we need to be prepared for things to get pretty rough. Things to get pretty rough, and just to ride the waves, to let go, and to allow these things to happen. I'm just kind of I really keep bracing myself and just say, hey, look, it's going to be okay. You can't fight against it. You almost really can't fight against it in a certain sense because it's just unfolding in such a crazy way. Like I don't know how big the crash is going to be. What I sort of expect is going to happen if I had to feel this with my heart is that you're going to see the market collapse quite a bit and people maybe are not even going to really notice. They're going to see their like portfolios drop and everything, but it's going to feel different than past crises where in past crises people were really like my life is over. And this time when it happens, people are almost going to be like, wait a minute, does this monopoly money does it even matter? It's like this is obviously bad, but what's going on here? So I think like we've been seeing very often that there's going to be dissonance between the sort of 3D, sort of 4D presentation and how it's feeling to people. That's my guess. Yeah, I could see it crash 60%. I mean, it's going to be the worst crash because I think it's required. I think you're going to have some kind of crash like this in order to introduce a new system. Yeah, introduce an Asara system, for instance. You're going to have to see a full crash. You're going to have to see it. It's going to have to happen. So, we'll see how that plays out. I don't know. I want to keep checking in with you guys, a couple times a week and just kind of see how things are playing out. But it's really not, I really feel like we've done our part, whatever that part was, and sort of talking about these things. Well, people like Charlie Ward, people talk about the new system being based on gold. I'm not going to give financial advice, guys, because it's not my strong suit. It's not my strong suit. Quite obviously not my strong suit. And also, I am not buying it because I don't have the ability to buy it at the moment. My financial focus is on dealing with more pressing matters than speculation. But I will tell you that people who have talked about the new system will be based on a gold based system. Those same people are also saying that Bitcoin's not going to be, you know, much of anything. And I don't know about that. I mean, look, you can look at it this way, that Bitcoin has been fueled by two things predominantly, right? Bitcoin's been fueled by the corruption in the system. I'll talk about Poland abortion protests in a second. Corruption in the system, right? That's the first thing. So if the system is changed, then it stands the reason that a lot of the incentive to go to something like Bitcoin would decline. And then the other part of it is that, well, you have that there's been a lot of, like you said, dirty money, and that there's been a lot of laundering that the group has done to move their assets around the world. And so you could argue that if you did have an Asara system and you took away those two things, that a lot of the incentive and a lot of the use of Bitcoin would disappear. But at the same time, people have been trashing Bitcoin for a while, and it keeps gaining value. So, and I'm not a cryptocurrency expert, right? I'm not a cryptocurrency expert, and so I really don't have opinion on this stuff. I think a lot of people have been hating on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin just keeps going higher and higher and higher. So we don't really know how it's going to play out. And the reality is that just because it has been used for a certain purpose up to this point, it doesn't mean that it won't have a value in the future, because it is by far, of all the cryptocurrencies, the one most used by people, right? It's almost synonymous with cryptocurrency. And so it seems sort of surprising to think that the entire thing would just sort of disappear when it hasn't done anything except produce a stable store of value for people. So if I had to guess, I would say that um, there's going to be a lot of different modalities of, like, everything being patchwork consciousness. There's going to be a lot of decentralization of finances. So while I do believe that gold is going to play a big role, I think probably crypto is going to play a big role too. I think you're going to see a lot of this stuff. Um, but I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't think anybody knows how it's going to play out. You're totally right, though, Romeo, that it does use a ton of electricity, and um, China has been mining heavily with it. So a lot's going to change. A lot's going to change, and we don't know how it's going to change. We just have to really let go and enjoy the ride, guys. That's the really big lesson here. We got to let go and enjoy the ride. I got some Ripple too. Ripple's supposed to be used in the new financial system, but I don't know. They're under crap from the SEC right now, so we'll see. So peeps, we'll see how it unfolds. 10 days from the inauguration, on, I guess it's going to be Sunday. Is that right? On Sunday, and Mercury also goes retrograde. So it's going to go retrograde for a couple weeks, and that usually means for you guys, Mercury going retrograde is usually appearance of confusion. People not really knowing what's going on. It happened right after the election for a couple of weeks. So let's see what happens, guys. Let's see what happens. Do you have any questions for me before I sign off? What are some questions? And understand, I might not be able to answer, but which journalist? Say you don't care about the stars? Oh, is that guy who wrote that really weird, creepy, like 5,000 page article on me. Is that where it was from? I honestly, Bob, I couldn't read it. It was so badly written. I was so bored. I was so bored reading that thing from, I don't know, was this Neil something? It's really creepy. I have to tell you, it's really, really creepy. It's really, really creepy to have these people. There's some people here who like just follow me, and like, can you imagine following me for months and then writing something? I don't know. It's just really strange. It's really. I mean, I guess things are kind of exciting around here. So I not much on television these days, right? But it would be great if he could have written better because it was really poorly written and couldn't get through it. I almost feel bad for him. Imagine doing all that research. People are like, "Can't read your article," and your at is Neil writes or something like that. So it's like you style yourself as a writer, and you spent months trying to research this like hit piece, and it's unreadable. Like it's pretty awful, right? It's pretty awful. Yeah, there's. I mean, and that's it. There's a lot of people like this. Like I honestly, I just want unity. I read a very fair article about me recently, and I think some people have said that, oh well, Pat's maybe radical, or I don't know when he became radical. I don't really consider myself radical at all. I mean, I think my politics are actually pretty universally accepted. Pretty universally accepted. I mean, I am. I've been able to have conversations with anybody, and we pretty much agree about everything. The issue is just you have propaganda and stuff that divides people. But we are really one big soul, and we all want the same thing. I mean, with the exception of a very small number of people, we all want the same thing. That's it. That's it. And we might have some different perceptions, but I mean, nobody here ever wants any kind of violence. Nobody here. We just want to have a really, beautiful, good society, and we want to. I think that's probably the silver lining with the stuff that's going on with GameStop is that maybe people are going to start to see it on. I always try to say this. It's like it was easy to slip into it during the election, so I'm kind of happy the election's behind us because very easy to slip into left versus right. Um, it's not really that. It's not really that. It's just about humanity. It's about humanity. So, so guys, any other questions? Any last questions here? Got just a couple more minutes. Gonna head off. I think we pretty much got this stuff locked in. Yeah, I did hear about that. I'm tempted to believe that that stuff is more propaganda. I don't want to be fooled again. When remember last March and all the videos we kept getting out of there. Um, when I saw the video today with all the people kind of walking in China with like bow-legged, I was like, you know what? I don't really feel like this is. I feel like this is probably propaganda. Like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, right? Shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Like, I'm not gonna get fooled twice by this stuff. It's too perfect. It's too perfect. It's too much of a obvious humiliation ritual, and I'm not gonna believe that that country is even doing it. I'm not gonna believe that China's doing it because they were really open. They were open. Wuhan was partying for New Year's, so yeah. I mean, well, look, I'm not gonna talk about that stuff anymore. I think we all know we're gonna see how it plays out with the masses. But I think you know I really think that this GameStop stuff, this stuff, Wall Street is a very big vector for a lot of people who um, have had issues with Trump, etc. They have an association that people who are on the right. And I say that loosely because we're not on the right. We're just kind of you know about humanity and etc. That they have an association with these things being that we were in the pocket of it because of people in the past, prior presidents, etc. So I think this is good. This is gonna. I just really feel unity. I feel unity consciousness starts to come, and I hope politics just disintegrates. Um, I think that we're probably gonna have a uni party for a while. I think we'll have a uni party for a while. I mean, the reality is that party politics. All right, let's talk about this. This is a good thing to close on. This is a good thing to close on. Party politics is a nature of polarity, right? It's a nature of polarity, especially when you have just two parties. And that's a real way to divide people against each other. And dividing people against each other is obviously, a great thing you want to do if you want to try to hide in the background and let everybody hate each other. But the reality is that, we are all most of the people in this country are good people. It doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter, you know, what your race is, doesn't matter what your sexuality is, doesn't matter what your gender is. Like they're good people for the most part. And some groups may have been traumatized in different ways. They may have, different practices, and that can create more polarity, right? Which is one of the reasons that you could argue that they've created some of these policies because, if you create too much polarity and the consciousness isn't prepared to accept it, then, adding more things in only creates more tension, which creates more division. Division is always a positive thing for them, not for us. So for us, we want people to come together. We want to have a unified country, unified world for that matter. I mean, I know that I've had so much, support and talk with people from around the world. So, um, I think that as the consciousness of society moves up, there won't be as much of a need for parties. I don't want to get like utopian here, but the reality is that the structures in society are reflective of the consciousness. Like we talked about this before, how in a lot of third world countries, okay, you had the whole Bush thing, let's go to Iraq and bomb the place and introduce democracy. Well, it didn't really work very well because the population was not at a level prepared to accept democracy, right? Their consciousness was very 3D. It hadn't reached 4D consciousness overall. And when you don't have that level, then you simply can't have the sort of localized structure. So basically what I think you're going to see happen is as the global consciousness comes up, and we're going through the darkness in order to see that, right? Because you always go through darkness before you come out the light, just the way it is, right? It's the way it is. That's the way growth happens. We need the contrast. Darkness plays a very, very important role in the awakening process. So you have to be like very appreciative of those who decided to be dark because they've been helping us all to wake up in their own way. So we get to this point. I think if you got most of the population in the 4D and certainly closer to 5D, if we made a big shift like that, parties would seem quite pretty silly. They'd seem pretty silly because everybody wants the same thing, right? Everyone wants the same stuff. They might have some different approaches on how to get there, but they'll be able to understand the other's intention, and there would be no reason to, have some sort of big fight with each other over it. One side might even say, okay, let's try it. The whole idea, like, no, you have to do what I say, that's a lower vibration way of thinking, right? Because in the higher vibration, we allow people their choices. We allow people to decide things on themselves. And so, there would even be less, competition for positions because it would be pretty clear, like, this person should be at the table, this person, shouldn't. And if you have enough high vibration people, even if one isn't, then other people could say, hey, look, we don't really feel like you're meant for this table. But part of that is that people who feel like that have to have their strength. We have to, like, a lot of the people who are in 5D have had to use this process to work on their boundaries because that's always a big issue for the sort of 5D consciousness. But yeah, guys, I mean, I do, the best is yet to come, as always. I really feel positive about the future. And I think that, what I would really recommend at this point is just to sit back and be prepared to let go of everything. Be prepared to let go of everything because that's where we're going. I mean, we are entering into a different world. No, I'm ENF. I'm ENTP. I'm ENTP. But you could get that intuition, couldn't you? But yeah, guys, I love you as always, and we'll catch in a couple days. I think I'm gonna do Q&A next. So if you got some questions, feel free to shoot them over. again, dating, relationship, whatever. I might jump on some of these things and just talk about a dating relationship topic I want to explore. But yeah, we're gonna also have some new emails coming out because I just got a new computer too because I didn't have a computer. So that was stopping me from being able to write some of the things I wanted to write. So I will see you guys soon. Much love as always. Much love to all of you, and enjoy your weekend.